Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while. I am going to bring to you today a little bit of a return to form. So, whenever a new set comes out, I kind of enjoy looking through the cards and thinking about what new cards might make a splash in Legacy and what shells they would fit into. And so, one card that really caught my eye was this card, See the Truth. So, it's 2-mana sorcery. The front half is look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, the other 2 in the bottom at any order. And then if it was cast anywhere other than your hand, you just put all 3 cards in your hand instead. And so this card seems kind of cool, kind of powerful, and I wanted to see what shells it's gone into, or it could go into. I initially was testing out an Alurin build with Charlotte's Agent, with the idea being that you can cascade into it. And that deck feels fine. It feels very playable. Today I wanted to try it out in a control shell and see how that works. So I'm playing a list very similar to the 4-color Miracles list from a couple seasons ago. I think this deck is still reasonably well positioned and has game against a lot of the field, and I kind of wanted to see if this sort of a card could work in the shell. So I'm playing it alongside 2 Snapcaster Mages, with the idea being that, alright, so the downside of this card when you have to cast the front half is that it's kind of slow. It's a sorcery instead of an instant, and it's 2 mana to draw a card, which, compared to your other cantrips, it's 1 mana to draw a card. And so I figured that, to pair this with Teferi seems reasonable because the +1 lets you do it in your opponent's end step. And because you're playing a control deck, you get to play very long games, so the fact that it's slow is a little bit less of a downside. And because the games are so long, eventually you will get to find this alongside Snapcaster Mage to draw 3 cards and kind of pull back in the game. Still only 2 Snapcaster Mage because, at its... You really do have to think of this like a 3-mana card, and I'm already playing a lot of 3-mana cards, and there's also just like so many strong 3-mana cards you could be playing right now. Like Oko is really strong, Uro is really strong, Teferi is very good. So I didn't want to kind of overload the 3-drop slot, and... Again, this isn't something I'm building my whole game plan around. It's just something that, will passively come to fruition as the game goes along. Other than that, nothing too special. I'm going with red instead of black. I think that Pyroblast just combines very well with Snapcaster Mage, which is the main reason I'm trying red. And then also From the Ashes, I think is just a very, very big addition that you get from this color against all the 4-color loam and land strategies that can be a little bit difficult to beat otherwise, because Back to Basics is good against them, but they play things like Abrupt Decay and Force of Vigor, so I really like having one of these. Let's see, other than that, not too much to talk about. Storm has gotten popular pretty recently, which is why I like 2 Null Rod in my sideboard right now. I think that because they're playing 4 copies of Veil of Summer and sometimes Defense Grid as well, it's very hard to interact with them on the stack profitably, so I found it just to be a little bit better to cut their mana off. So that's what I'm going for here. 2 Containment Priest, because Sneak and Show has made a little bit of resurgence. And again, they also play Veil of Summer, so I just want, proactive things I can put into play that kind of shut down these popular strategies that don't involve, me having a Force of Will and them not having a Veil of Summer. Carpet of Flowers, this is really just for the Delver matchup. It has its uses against, all blue decks, but Delver is the main one. I think when you lose black, the biggest thing you lose access to is Abrupt Decay. And against Delver, this can be very difficult because I think pretty much every Delver deck now has 2 copies of Winter Orb in their sideboard. And this is a very hard card to deal with as a control player. And I think Carpet, in addition to just being a good card against Delver, even when they don't have Winter Orb, it's a very elegant answer to Winter Orb. The problem sometimes with cards specifically that to deal with artifacts are that they're dead otherwise, and that can be a very big cost against Delver. Luckily, Wilt cycles, so that's nice. So yeah, we're going to run this through a league and see how it goes. And hopefully it goes well. Hopefully we get to draw some cards. All right, we are here for round 1. We are up against Lee J. I feel like I haven't played this this man in a while, but I feel like he was on Storm last time I played him. Could be wrong about that. I'm clearly wrong about that, given that there's a Cavern entering play. Goblin, okay. So my opponent is obviously on Goblins. This deck is gained a really good card from the new set, and Conspicuous Snoop, which is both a value card and also potentially a combo engine alongside Kiki Jiki. I was just talking the other day about how I think that Goblins is probably one of the worst matchups for this deck. Just because they play a ton of value. Am I supposed to ponder again? Problem is I want both the swords. So I think I'm going to draw one of them and then ponder after that. Hopefully find a land underneath it. I could also Brainstorm this turn in end step. That feels wrong though, just because I'm only seeing one new card, and then I have to redraw one of my bad cards. Not really bad, they're just slow. Yeah, so Goblins is really tough just because between Cavern and Aether Vial, it's just very hard to counter any of their spells. Yeah, I think I have to shuffle these. As good as Swords to Plowshares is, I think I just want to hit my land drops and cast Uro, and hope I don't get completely outvalued in the meantime. Sorry, so it's hard to counter their spells, and they have a lot of value, so it's hard to keep up with them in value as well. Especially given that they missed their land drop last turn, so like their hand is just all good cards. I'm going to put a stop here just in case I want to Swords something on end step. Sparksmith to target creature and X damage to you. Okay, that doesn't do anything to me right now. It's an interesting inclusion. I haven't really seen this one. So I think I'm going to Brainstorm. And then Swords. Maybe. I don't like that this can just kill my Lab. So I think I might actually let it go for now. I might just Sword something else. So this is fine. I guess it's just a matter of if I want to fetch Plains or... I think I'll fetch Plains. Just Swords this now. Now that he doesn't have mana up, I can Swords this without kind of having to worry. Okay, so... I'm going to shuffle one card away, basically. Maybe it's probably just the second Uro. So I'll put back this, and then I will Swords that guy. And unfortunately, this Aether Vial is going to resolve, which means it doesn't really matter that my opponent has drawn one land. In fact, it's almost better for them. And so this is the nice part about See the Truth. We're going to get to clear top card of our library. So we'll have another shot at drawing a land. We'll take the Astrolabe. Put these two in any order. The one downside about See the Truth is that you do have to keep one of the cards. You can't just shuffle and get a new shot at a new card. But that's okay. We have drawn all 4 swords, which is not that bad. So this can just kill the Snapcaster Mage kind of at their leisure, which is fine. Yeah, and so this is kind of the main play pattern that you're just going to lose to if they have a reasonable draw. Is just Matron into Ringleader in a way that you can't counter. So either through Vial or Cavern. I'm really not sure what I want to do next turn. I think it depends if I draw a land or not. Chieftain. Okay, that's not bad. Chieftain is a card I can interact kind of favorably with in the sense that I can just swords it, and it is a 1-for-1. It also means they probably have Ringleader in their hand already. Maybe not. I don't know. +1/2 haste. So I think I'll put a stop on their beginning of combat. And next turn, depending on what they do with Vial, I may or may not snap swords. I still think I want to snap swords. Could even swords snap swords. Because the nice thing is if they attack with this guy, then I get to trade with snap. But if they put in any other goblins, those goblins will be able to attack. So we'll have to kind of see what happens. I suppose I can swords this at the beginning of combat, and then if they attack, I can snap swords and jump in front of it. We'll see what happens, obviously. Chieftain is a card that isn't played as often, at least going off of what Eli generally plays. Which he's like the main goblins guy in Legacy, for my money. So maybe this build is like a little bit more aggressive, because this is also a card I don't see very often. So it feels like maybe he's just trying to kill creatures and then get a board presence and kill you. Hard to say. The one thing too is, you know, with this, with these 3 things, it is possible that I do just die at instant speed with Snoop plus Harbinger. Although this means he might not be playing black. It's really difficult to tell. Any lands I draw at this point are really good for me, because it just means that this means it's one less spell they're drawing, and their mana is obviously well set up. Yeah, so they're pretty big on so I'm going to do this. They may or may not attack still with the Sparksmith. We'll see what happens. So that's actually pretty good for me. So I'm going to fetch. Play snap. And they have Expert to kill the blocker. It's a little annoying. I'm still going to Swords the Chieftain. I only have one card left. I'm at 7. It's a good question if I should be playing Uro or Oko. I think it's just Uro, because then next turn I can escape it, and then it is pretty good on this board. His Force Will and Force of Negation don't really do much, but that's okay. We do have another Swords. Not sure if I want to use it or not, or if I want to save it for another Chieftain. Yeah. His opponent drew Ringleader. Only hit Lackey, so that's good for us, I guess. And I think we have to kill the Sparksmith just because it could just kill the Uro straight up. So we're going to take 5 down to 5. And then we're going to escape Uro back up to 8, and hopefully that's good enough. But I kind of doubt it. Of course, we'll see. Yeah. So you always start with the lands, and then you think about what you want to bring back with Snapcaster. The only things I can recur in this deck from the graveyard are, well, obviously Uro, but then just Snapcaster. So last card, another, oh my god, of course it is. That's so frustrating. If we had a land there, we could have swords something too, so it wouldn't have been quite lethal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to 1. I guess we have a Terminus in the deck we can draw to, but that's about it. Yeah, I think this card has just been so incredibly powerful as far as making goblins a playable strategy. Sorry, as far as making goblins a playable strategy. Okay, so it is just Terminus or Bust right now, so I'm going to start looking for it. Yeah, okay. There's not, I don't think I can hit anything anymore. Oh well. Oh well. I think I just drew my cards in the wrong order too. Like, you need these early to counter the Vial. Alright, so fighting against them is pretty straightforward. You kind of just bring in ways to deal with Aether Vial, and then you cut like some Force of Wills, because again, they're not that good. And then you cut the Spell Pierce. They have enough cards that are 2s that I think Spell Snare is fine. I'm going to play Wilt 2 over Null Rod, just because you can cycle this one, which is nice. Alright, I think that's good. Yeah. Really annoying queuing into our... I think this is our worst matchup in the format right now. Just as far as, you know, Cavern and Aether Vial just take away your ability to interact with them, and then they play a lot of card advantage, as well as removal. And I think the format is not in a place where you can play too many board sweepers in your deck. So I'm only playing 1 Terminus. If I wanted to make this matchup better, I probably would have to play black instead of red. just to have things like Plague Engineer, which I think is fine. Like I said, I think black has its advantages, and then red also has its advantages. It really depends on how popular you think certain strategies will be. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I'm going to lead it off with the Astrolabe, just because I don't know if I want to find lands or not with this Ponder. Like, say I draw 2 lands off these Astrolabes, then I definitely don't want to land. So I'm going to get more information first before I have to use the card that makes a decision. Force is reasonable. I probably would force a turn 1 Lackey. Obviously not forcing an Aether Vial here. Okay. Swords is a great pickup. Just gonna wilt this now. No reason to give them mana. Pile driver, yeah. So this build is definitely more focused on just killing the opponent quickly, it feels like. Now this has pro blue, so I cannot block with Coatl. So I'm just gonna ponder for a 3rd land. Perfect. And then I will play this Astrolabe. And then I can decide if I want to Brainstorm or Swords, depending on what the opponent does. Swords or Brainstorm could also be my pitch card for this force, although the more this game goes, like the only thing I can see myself forcing right now is like a Matron or a Ringleader. So I might be looking to just Brainstorm this away. We'll see. Therapy is an interesting inclusion. We saw it in their main deck too, off the first Ringleader. I guess if you're playing a bunch of tiny creatures, like a reasonably cheap flashback cost. The problem is there's no way for them to miss. Like the 2 most common names are Brainstorm and Force of Will, and we have both. So yeah. I could have considered Brainstorming in response and hiding like Swords and Force. That might have been better. Yeah, great. Probably the best card they could have had to pair with Therapy. Maybe Brainstorming was just better to hide like the cards they're obviously going to name. That's hard to say. I just didn't want them to get like a free flashback, but they're going to play more creatures and they're going to have a flashback. Like you're not going to stop them from flashing it back for the entire game. So it seems a little bit silly to worry about that in retrospect. Hard to say. Oh well. I think at this point we're just going to try and find an Uro. Yep. And see, this is the problem. Cavern plus their card advantage spells. Okay. So I could bounce a token here. That's actually kind of close. Bouncing a token versus bouncing Astrolabe. It's going to be a 2/2, so I think that's worth a card. I will force this because it's just going to get haste and then like accelerate them out. So I think I just have to kind of fight them on tempo right now. And then hope to find like an Uro. I guess hope to find an Uro is like the way out. Nice, another ringleader. Right, this one only hit 2, but it hit a ringleader, so we are not in good shape. How useful is 5th land? How useful is Force? I think I'm just going to do this. Yeah, this matchup is just impossible, I think. So for all you Death and Taxes players QQing about Astrolabe and Oko, please just start playing Goblins and, you know, you'll be fine. It's not a broken deck. Okay. I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I'm going to just... I'll get an island. And then swords. This. I'm not unhappy to draw Terminus, but if I had known, I obviously would not have swords. That's fine though. Problem is I have another ringleader in hand, so we're just still impossibly behind. I really do think it's Uro or bust. Let's see. It's possible I was supposed to brainstorm on my turn instead of using this as a surprise. I don't know. Problem is, I really just need to find a swords, right? Because otherwise I'm taking lethal. Yeah, I'll go for it. Okay. Rough game, rough game. Happens though. You can't have a deck. It's really hard to build a deck that's good against everything. And so, you know, if I switch to black, I think I lose a lot versus like Sneak and Show. This has no lands, so I will mill again. Seems fine. What's bottom? What's bottom? I guess just a Brainstorm. Spell Pierce is usually just a very reasonable card against a lot of strategies. And then, if it does end up being bad, I can Brainstorm it away. Okay, Thoughtseize. This might be Depths. It's very possible. Bayou Thoughtseize. There aren't that many strategies that do that right now. It could also be Storm, and then just let on their Bayou. But I think it's more likely to be Depths. I guess it depends on what they take, huh? If they take Spell Pierce, they're likely to be Depths. Or sorry, if they take Spell Pierce, likely to be Storm. And if they take Teferi, they're probably on Depths. Hard to say. Or they could take Astrolabe, and then we have no idea what they're on. Oh, okay. Actually, I don't know what's happening. Alright, so it's likely Depths. Urborg plus Elvish Spirit Guide. Cool. Pretty good turn from the opponent. So at the very least, they're going to get 2 turns off of this Confidant. Probably more, because if they find discard, they get to take my Teferi. That's interesting. It's actually very difficult to know what to do because they have this Teferi, or they have this Decay. I think I just want to look for Swords to Plowshares. Okay. They didn't have a land, so Spell Pierce might be good. Okay, I'm going to put these 2 back. See, the truth is a cantrip, so I might be able to help me find a land. Oh, God. I'm just going to hope they don't find a wasteland. because if I just fetched for a plains there, they could just decay this, and they don't have blue mana. And I know they have a decay in hand. I don't know, whether or not they have a wasteland is an unknown. So they decay it anyway, which I'm very, very fine with. So now I'll just play Ponder over See the Truth just because it's only 1 mana, and well, it's me to shuffle if I don't find anything. This is also a good pickup. I think I will take 1 hit from the Hex Mage just to see if my opponent plays a 2 mana cost spell, and then if not, I will play the Coatl instead. Could also do this in response to draw the Force of Will on top of my library. I'm going to do this. It's just a matter of what I bounce. Nice thing about this is that it means they can't crop rotate end step. So I could bounce this for an extra card. Or I could bounce the Mox Diamond to cut them off mana a bit. They function on not a lot of mana. I'm going to just do this and draw another card. Okay. It's a pretty good pickup. Just lets me hold up Spell Snare. So Teferi turns into a draw 2 here. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Not quite sure what they could have in hand. Because they haven't been playing lands. They could have crop rotation. That's like a very reasonable thing. But it feels like they don't have discard. They could also just have like Lotus Petals and or Spirit Guides. These all make sense. Coatl doesn't do much here. I have a Force of Will for a crop rotation. Which they appear to not have. Okay. So we're looking for Swords or a Snap here for a little bit of extra insurance. I guess not even extra insurance, just like so that we don't die the turn after our thing gets hit. I think it's more important to look for this than to play the Uro. If the Uro got us above 20 life, I would definitely be playing it. Alright, yeah, so I'll take the Oko. Now it's just swords. Okay, cool, swords. And so the goal here is to chump the Dark Depths and then turn it into an elk. And that should be good enough. They would need like a way to kill Ice-Fang and a way to give this protection and a way to stop Force of Will. So it would need to be like Abrupt Decay, Crop Rotation, Veil of Summer, or something silly like that. So there's the Abrupt Decay. So I will get a Plans. And then swords this. Then see if they have another Dark Depths that they've drawn. If they have another Dark Depths, it actually is a problem. Sure. I'm actually going to play the Oko. Because one of the things I would like to have is my life total above 20. And so the earlier I play Oko, the more life I can start gaining. It does expose it to, you know, just getting killed by Hexmage. But that's also a card I'm very fine with them losing access to. Gonna do this. We'll see what we draw. Because we have a few options. We could play the Back to Basics. We could play the Terminus. We could draw 3 cards. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is elk this and just cast Terminus. I think this should be good enough to win. They get to kill my Oko, but I have Back to Basics and I have... Oh, they didn't do it. definitely a misplay on their part. I'll have back to basics and I'll have Snap see the truth to be back in the game. I think I would win this game without Roka fairly easily. Alright, so they play a lot of discard, so I like the Veils. Pithing Needle is obviously really good. I don't mind the idea of the surgical just because, you know, you kill the first one and then you surgical them. I think the things I'm thinking of are Wilt and Null Rod. They oftentimes play Sylvan Library and they could play Choke, so I am going to bring in the Wilt. I like trimming this, I like trimming this. All these are good, all these are good. What am I cutting? Force of Will is really only good against crop rotation, but that is important. I'm going to trim the Spell Pierce. I will trim a land. No, that's silly. It's just better to trim the Volk. And then, what's the last cut? I don't like cutting any of the cantrips just because they're very important. Alright, we're gonna trim another Force of Will. They just play so much. The reason I don't like Forces is they play so much discard that it's kind of hard to, well, one, either keep the force in hand, or two, if you're forcing something, you're just very down. So this has kind of everything we want. Veil, Sword, Surgical, Force blue card. Obviously my opponent is likely to have discard, so this might not pan out perfectly, but do I force this, though? That's reasonable. I actually think this is fine because it lets me leave a Veil of Summer the next turn. And then I do just get to, you know, stop their game plan. Like, oftentimes, this plus this can just stop them from winning the game entirely. Sure. Put a stop in my end step just so I can do it. And end step. So if they wasteland me, I think I am just going to Swords the Hex Mage. It's kind of like a trap, sort of, where you're goading them into activating it, and then next turn you Swords it, and then you Surgical. Alright, so am I supposed to Surgical now or when they draw? I guess one thing I could potentially lose to is, like, crop rotation. So I just want them to have the smallest chance of having like Elder Spirit Guide plus crop rotation. And I think that's better than the chance that they draw Dark Depths. Okay, so they have 2 ley lines. They have 2 decays. Alright, so basically the ways they have to win are Dark Confidants and Elvish Reclaimers. Do they have Bojuka Bog? That's important. They do have one. Okay. Okay. Wait, did they cut? They cut a Dark Depths. That's so strange. I feel like that's your game plan. I guess they have like the other creatures, but like, I don't know. Seems a little silly to me. Alright, so unfortunately they have this Sylvan Library at 40 life. Which we'll have to deal with. So we could still very easily lose this game. Yeah, okay. Let me fetch. Alright, I will pause this until I can fetch. I'm also going to grab a coffee. Alright, I can grab my land. This isn't doing much for me, so I'm just going to shuffle it. See the choose reasonable pickup. Finds the Snapcaster Mage, so that's nice. Now, the opponent does have a Bojuka Bog, so if they don't attack with this, I might be priced into doing something different. We'll see. That's interesting. Okay, so they did not sequence that last couple turns very good. They could have just paid for life and put the Loam in their hand, or Leyline in their hand. Instead they lost it to Dark Confidant. That is pretty funny though. Now they might just tap out and play the Leyline, which if that's the case, I'm very happy. All right, there it is. All right. So now it's a legitimate question if I'm supposed to snap swords or if I'm supposed to snap real Terminus. Yes. Okay, well now it's not a question anymore. I'm just going to cast Terminus. And then next turn I will Snapseed the Truth. Assuming they don't, like, get rid of my yard. Which is very possible. I'm actually really surprised my opponent just, like, isn't paying life to draw cards. I don't understand. Sure. Alright, so let's just Ancestral. They have no cards in hand, so we have nothing to worry about. Always a good feeling. That's a great pickup. Lets us hit the library next turn. Let me get rid of this. That's smart of the opponent. Copy their draw lands. But, I mean, like, you're at 29. You should be paying life to draw cards. Even if they're bad cards, you just gotta get through your library. I suppose with Reclaimer you get to, you know, shuffle some away, but to me this just doesn't feel optimal. Wonder if they'll get Bog. I mean, it does seem pretty reasonable. They get to get rid of the rest of my yard, which means that future Uros are just not cards. I'd have to, well, I mean, I guess I can draw a Teferi. Okay. Alright, so I think this is a pretty straightforward turn. Oh, no, it's not. Well, I'm gonna do this, and then I mean, I could leave up Veil again, but I think it's just better to play Oko. They only had 2 decays in their list. I suppose they could also find Hexmage, though. Yeah, I don't know the right answer here. It's possible I was supposed to just, you know, wait a turn and have access to. Yeah, God damn it. That's so frustrating. They just had 2 draws of the 2 of, and they found it. That's so unbelievably frustrating. This is also just a horrible play. My opponent's gonna cycle into the protection land, but like this is just so much worse than not attacking and then playing the excavator and starting your chain of, you know, drawing an extra card every turn. at least in my mind. Obviously, you know, the opponent is free to make the plays they want, but I don't know. Feels foolish to me. All right, I'm gonna get the Confidant and not the extra power. So this turn they get to draw a card, play this, replay their land. They might cycle the one. They have to cycle this one because this comes back as a Thespian Sage. Or they could draw another Confidant. Both been doing great at drawing all their creatures and none of their lands. I think I'm going to save this for a turn. I'm going to attempt to ambush this guy. And then, I'm going to ambush this guy as well and leave up Veil. So they have this Framing App, 1 unknown. Two unknowns. So Death Touch will block here. 2-1 will block here. We trade off. They get a Ramunap. Just fine. They get to replay their P land. A little bit annoying, but whatever. Next turn I will get to Brainstorm, and then if I don't like what I see, I can see. Haha. Obviously, I'm just looking for things like Oko counts. So there's never any way for me to flash that back. So I think at this point it's just worse than this. I think elking this is the right play. I know our life total is a little bit under siege, but this effectively draws them an extra card. And I think we're just going to try to slowly outcard them. We've gone through a lot of their stuff, like 2 Confidants are exiled, 1 is at the bottom of the library. You know, 1 of these is gone, 1 of them's at the bottom. There's not much left for them to possibly have. So I think we're close. I think we're close to pulling ahead. The last Confidant. Okay. Attacking Oko, that's a pretty good sign in my view. Alright, so I think the play is to just Teferi bounce the Confidant. And then what do I want to draw underneath it? I guess we're always drawing the land, but we could brainstorm it back. I mean, I don't really need more lands, so I think our goal is to brainstorm it away. And then I think our mana is just okay enough that it's close. Do we want to have access to the life gain or to the ability to have different colors? I think the life gain might be more important just given our life total. Obviously not attacking. All right. Wow, okay. Definitely wasn't over. I guess they were low on time, so it would have been tough for them to win this game, and back to basics probably would have sealed the deal. So it would have been hard for them to win that game and win another one in time, so I don't mind the concession there. But yeah, okay, 1-on-1. I'm going to stop the recording here for now, and I will record the last 3 matches in a separate video. So, you know, if you want to see how the league finishes up, be sure to check those out. All right, see you guys.